Morning, folks. Yeah, little Johnny's throwing spitballs. I seen you. Keep them spitballs or go outside with that. Keep it quiet, folks, there, because it's story time with Gator this morning. So you have to bear with me, eh? A little bit of cooperation there and tone it down. And I gotta tell you a story. We go back quite a few years. I was five or 6 years old then. Okay, we're gonna talk about it's a grand uncle. Okay, I used to have, because he's deceased now, poor fellow. But I'm gonna tell you a story about this guy. His name was Arthur. I guess it was a good name in those days, eh? Anyways, okay, so this guy, he's a hermit. And how I got to know him, or hang on, I'm just gonna do this once. So I hope, whoops, wrong way, right there. Okay, that's it. Okay, so this guy lives along the highway. There's a highway. It's in Ontario here. It's not far from maybe I don't know, maybe 10 miles from Sturgeon Falls. And I won't tell you exactly where it is, but I think there's nothing left of his house. Eh? His house was a old wood log house there. Old in its day, and I was five or 6 years old then. And anyways, my father took me there. See, my father, they were a big family, and I think they were 16 kids. Just imagine that. 16 kids. And he wasn't, my father wasn't, I don't know how they did this in the day, but he'd go and he'd spend 2-3 months at his uncle's place along the river, and he'd go to school from his uncle's place, which wasn't too far from their house, but he wasn't even living at home. He was living with his uncle. Anyways, my father was buddy with this guy, okay? And anyways, where was I going? Oh yeah. First off, we drive to his laneway and get to a fence. Nobody's got the key for this fence, eh? So how are we going to get in? And how are we going to drive to his place? Well, we're not going to get in, and we're not going to drive. You got to hop over the fence, and you got to walk. So I was... It seemed I was 5 or 6 years old, and you know how it is when you're young, eh? It seems like we walked for a few miles, eh? Maybe it was just a half a mile nowadays, but it was a few miles, like 2.5 miles in the day, eh? Anyways, you couldn't see the house where he lived from the gate. So we walk in and we walk in. That's what I remember, anyways. It's been a few years, eh? So I get there, and we meet him outside. He's got a cow, and she's loose, and he's got a little dog, eh? So I'm interested in the little dog, and I play with him, eh? And he's talking. Then my father and him go inside. So, and they tell me to come inside with them, eh? So I go inside, and then I see this place. It's a one-room. This is what you call a shack. It's one room, and you can see the table. Not a big table, but it's got a bench in front of it, And I still remember, it's clear in my vision, eh? I see this, it's about 5 feet wide and about 4 feet high. It's a window, but it doesn't have no glass in it, eh? It's just a plank thing outside, and it's got hinges, and he's got a thing, and he opens that up, eh? And the river's in front of the house, eh? And you can see, if you got up and looked, you could see the river from the front of the house. Ooh, here I go again. And so I find that interesting, eh? Like, we lived in the city, and this was kind of rustic. And you could see his bed. Well, his bed wasn't made, and he had this big deer head over his bed, okay, with antlers, eh? But the creepy thing, and I was young, eh? And I was kind of spooked out about this. I guess he had mounted that head himself, and he'd never bought the glass eyes, so the deer didn't have no eyes in it. So I was kind of a little bit, and he had a few other antlers in this log cabin, but this one here right over the bed was the really spooky one. Eh? And they gave me, was a small seat, about that high. So I sat down on that. It was a chair made for a kid, eh? And so I sat close to the entrance to the door, and I looked at them, eh? And he had, I think it was cornflakes, eh? And he had milk because he had a cow outside. So, but the thing about these cornflakes is that it was almost black on top with flies, eh? He'd just swoosh his hand over it, you know, and the flies would go, and then he'd take a shovel full and he'd eat it, eh? And I don't know, I couldn't believe that, eh? And I maybe traumatized by it. And there was how do you say that? It's a little open cupboard. There's probably a name for that, but I don't know it there. It was like a little cupboard sideboard. It was right beside where I was sitting, eh? And this thing, I was really impressed because I still remember to this day, eh? There was a pile of sardine on one side. There must have been 50 cans of sardine, Brunswick sardine. And then on the other side, there was, well, hang on, here. This is about the size of the tin can, but it was jam, strawberry jam. And there was a cover that you kind of snap open. It was Habitant strawberry jam. The name says it all. It was probably made in in Quebec somewhere. But anyways, so he had that in the sideboard, eh? And I look at that, eh? The cans of jam, he had about maybe 20, eh? So, and I just this this is just his food, eh? But this old guy, he never had a driving license, but he had an old Jeep, eh? Maybe I don't know, big. It wasn't a small Willis Jeep. It was maybe more like a 1.5 or something like that, a J6, or I don't know what they call those Jeeps there, but like a 1.5 Jeep. He had one of those, eh? And once a month or a month and a half or whenever he had to go to town, he'd take that Jeep and he'd drive to Sturgeon Falls and he'd do his groceries and he'd come back home, eh? That's the only outing he ever did. But and there's latter days, and this guy was rich too, eh? Because when they enter, well, Highway 17, which goes throughout Canada from east to west, and when they got around his place, he had a piece of property and he had just the right gravel for the road, eh? So for a long stretch of road, he took the gravel on his property and they paid him well, eh? And he had stowed that money away. this is just jewels of knowledge, eh? And hearsay from my grandmother, eh? Which was his sister. She's deceased now here too, eh? But my grandmother was waiting for him to die because she thought she'd get the money because I think she was the only one. No, there was another one left. There was two sisters, her and another one, and she was a nun. You know what he did? Left all his money to the nun, to the congregation the nun was in. I guess he wanted to connect direct into the sky there to get a place up there. But my grandma, she was waiting for the money, eh? Because she, I don't know, she had partly spent it. She was a funny lady anyway. But that's my father's mother, right? She was waiting for the money, and they found some money too in this stove, eh? He had an old stove, and they had paper in it, and they had put money under the paper in the stove, eh? He was hiding some of he was didn't spend much, I guess. In this latter day they used to get some kind of old age pension, and he never did nothing. He didn't have a fancy home, wasn't connected to hydro, lived a very meager life, so I guess why would he have spent anything that the government was sending him? So needless to say, I was just thinking about it, and I said I'm gonna make a video of that. Like the way some of the old folks, he was married. That's just from what I heard. He was married when he was young, and he lost his wife real young. And he always stayed alone, and they lived in that, I was going to say shack. It's like a cottage. Log home along the river, but it was the old style. Well, I was old when I went there, eh? And I was 5 years old, and here I am at 69. So just imagine. It doesn't exist because I looked. I was down there a few months ago, as a matter of fact. I drove to Sudbury, and as I'm going by, I look on the left towards the river. It's the name of the river for those that live around there. It's the Viv River. It would translate. Viv River would translate to Widow River. That's a direct translation, but I don't know if it means anything. And their family name too, by the way, this is just jewels of knowledge. Their family name was Trahan, and there's a Boo Luquette, which is in here. YouTube land. He knows of them because he has some their ancestors that got deported to Louisiana and the Great Deportation. The English took a whole bunch of people from Acadie, which is down east here, and they dropped them off everywhere in the States. I don't really remember because I wasn't old enough then. But anyways, that's a long time ago. But he was part of that same family. Anyways, okay, so I'm out enough on here. It's just little stories about the past, eh? Like when you're 5 years old, how you're impressed about things like deers with no eyes, and a stock of sardines to last a guy maybe 50 years. Okay, so I said enough. I hope I don't know, you probably tuned out. If I should have said this at the start. But anyway, okay, for the next video, if you don't like the video, all you could do, go make a coffee, go make a hot chocolate, make yourself a drink, go to a washroom, sit down, and let my video run so I'll get the airtime. Anyways, I enjoyed doing this. I hope you did too. And I promise you one thing, the next one's going to be a good one. Salute you all. I will see you in the next one. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hang on. These guys didn't think you'd get away like that. I got a little bit of, I want to add to this. This Uncle Arthur. It's just a tad bit that my father told me, and it seemed like it was a remarkable thing. See, I told you that he was living at this uncle's place, for 2-3 months, and I guess in the winter time too, because this is what this little tidbit's all about. This old guy, is alone, and I guess like people that were alone in those days, like this was it would be in the 1920s, around there. They did a lot by themselves. They managed, let's say. And my father was young, and he was 6-7 years old, and he was living there, and and there was a river, and this uncle of his made some skates for him. And my father used to describe this, and just try to imagine this in your mind, eh? It was a kind of a flat wooden affair that he could put his boot in, and he'd have 2 leather straps that he'd tie, so that he had the boot sitting in the wooden affair, and he tied the both leather straps, but underneath to skate on, you know what it was? Files. He'd take a file and he'd grind it down, probably grind down the file on both sides, like to take the grooves out of it, and then he'd ground the underneath part, and he'd make a forward bevel. This is just from what my father told me, but nowadays nobody'd even think about doing such a thing. But just to show you that people got along and made things with nothing in those days, eh? And like he'd put that file like this, he'd grind that down with, you know, one of those was like a pump affair, and they had a big grinding wheel there. There's a video of one guy, Sneelock there, old Sneelock there. He had a grindstone like that. It was a big grindstone. They had some kind of pedals on there to set it at a turn, and he probably ground that down. I don't know that for a fact, because I never seen the skates, and I never seen the stone. But this is just my father telling me, and I just thought I'd add this in there. It's just a little tidbit, but I just wanted to add it on. It just something that came to mind, like an addendum to the video. Okay, with that all said, that's good memories of the past. So I salute you all. Thumbs up if you want, and comments are welcome. And don't forget, I will see you in the next one.